Hope you're having a good day. I'm not. For a movie critic like myself, it's been a tough week at the office. I watched that weekend film, Hurry Up and Wait. Terrible. I watched that Tyler Perry Netflix exclusive Straw. Awful. And late last night, I pulled myself a double feature, going to Bride Hard. Complete absolute ass. And 28 years later, finally, the wave of trash will mercifully wash over me thanks to 28 years later, cinema has returned. That's what I thought I would say when the film was done. I'd like to talk about 28 years later in a spoiler-free review for a while. Later on, I'm going to delve into it. Usually I do separate videos for bigger releases, a spoiler-free one and a spoiler-filled one, but I have a lot of movies that I still have to get out on the channel, so let's just burn through this bitch. Listen, I'm not one of those channels that likes to beat around the infected bush, penis. I tell you exactly how I feel, and how I felt walking out of 28 years later was, wow, that kind of sucked. Those were my words that I said to the fictitious person I went with. Now, I went with a buddy. He actually did not like it either. And as the movie kept going, we were kind of antsy in our seats thinking, oh my God, what is going on in this film? But before I throw a grown man hissy fit about this film, let's get a couple factoids out of the way. Number one, it's rated R. For blood, for violence, and for infected male genitalia. You know, there's naked men and women all over the place, but some of those alpha men in the movie, we'll get into the alphas in a little bit, they're very well endowed. So much so that I caught myself thinking, what's the story there? What's that all about? Let's go on this adventure and figure out what happened to this guy. Because the movie I'm watching right now has absolutely nothing to offer me. We have all your classic staples returning, throwing up blood, arrows through faces, a couple of old school Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero fatalities. You know, just something for your grandma to enjoy. This film was directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. Alex Garland gave us some pretty awesome movies in the past, such as the fantastic Ex Machina, the crazy Annihilation, the solid Civil War, and that absolute piece of shit Men, where we see several iterations of a guy giving birth to himself out the anus. I'll have what he's having. And speaking of anus, that's kind of where I feel the story went in this one. Like the previous 28 movies, we are going to keep this pretty small scale, following just one family, a husband, a wife, and a son. Jodie Comer plays the wife. Our Craven the Hunter himself is back. It's Craven time. Let there be Craven. Aaron Taylor Johnson, kicking ass as Hunter Jamie. Bet you didn't see that coming. And this really circles me back to the writing here. Not 30 seconds go by in this script where I don't hear some jackass say the name Spike or Spiky or S-Town, or S-Money. No, maybe not the last two, but Spike is said to such an obnoxious degree, it makes it even more ironic that I actually had to look up the kid's name when doing this review. Just a second ago, I brought up IMDb, couldn't find him. It should be burrowed into my psyche. They say it so fucking much. Spike! Look out, Spike! Spike! Come on! You must be Spike, the little rascal I've been hearing about. Classic Spike. This tastes weird. Who spiked this? Spike? Did you spike this, Spike? Hey, we gotta get those chains out front in case cars come down here. You know, the ones with the spikes on them? Spike, did you get the spiked chains out there after you spiked my punch, Spike? All right, I think I ran that into the ground. Let's keep going. Ralph Fiennes is also in this. He plays a doctor. He's gonna show up later in the film, but he'll get his time to shine. They all do. But the script is really going to focus in on Spike, his relationship with his mother and father, and he gets to have a road trip adventure with each of them individually. That's nice. First half focusing on his relationship with his dad, second half with the mom. It's also worth note that this is not supposed to be the last 28 film we get. This is part of a trilogy, a new trilogy. So it's the end of one, the beginning of another. It acts as a bridge, kind of like the bridge that's in this film. Oh, segue. Subscribe for segues. And actually, that reminds me, you should subscribe to Adam Does Movies on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I'm on all the places. Would love to have you with me. Hey, so what in the hell is this film all about anyways? Great question, Adam. Glad you asked it. Well, the safe haven we start out at is known as the Holy Island. It's a small little island, and then there's a causeway that takes them to the mainland. And this overall narrative taking place once again in lovely England. And at just 14 years old, he thinks, yep, now's the time. My son Spike is ready to take on the day. We're gonna go out on a hunt. A rite of passage. Meanwhile, poor Jodie Comer's character Isla is stuck up in bed this chick's got something wrong with her. We don't know until later in the film what that is, but it's quite an enticing mystery until it's not. So without drumming up any spoilers, what can you expect from this film before I get into them? Well, you'll have a consistent pace, I would say, to the previous movies. These aren't like high-octane, fast-moving pictures. There's a lot of slow down time. There's a lot of one-on-one dialogue. There are some really intense moments in this film that are almost always undercut by some bullshit editing trick that they're doing with the camera and with the multi-angles they're doing. Back in the 90s, some of the lamer films did this triple take where it would be like, you would see them a lot in cereal commercials. Well, apparently the modern version of that is to do a double take from the opposite angle. So if an infected gets a arrow through the head, it's gonna freeze frame and then spin over here for the same shot reversed. It turns out Danny Boyle likes playing Mario Kart in mirror mode because we see this shot every freaking time. It got so obnoxious by the 6th or 7th one, I just kind of assumed they would happen every time. And as luck wouldn't have it, they pretty much do. The editing in general in this movie is shot out of a fucking cannon though. It can't sit still. It's constantly switching shots. It's constantly referencing other things from the history of England and shit I don't know anything about that probably means something to someone somewhere, but it doesn't make the movie any better. Now, that being said, the movie tries to have some heart, to have a soul, to have an identity, and I think ultimately it misses because of the weirdness surrounding all of it, which I'll get to. Don't worry, I'll get there. It may work for you. It did not work for me because, again, there was just too much baggage leading into the story. And it takes a good amount of time to even get to the story at all. We spend the first half just going on a hunting expedition for no real reason at all. Here's the thing. If you like the movie, great. You saw it, you loved it, you're big on this franchise. I really enjoyed the first film. I thought it was ahead of the game. It did some really interesting things. Second one, it's fine. This movie's just such a disappointment. And honestly, I kind of hated it. Even the opening sequence where we're back in time and we get that one crazy moment that starts things out, I found myself chuckling at it. And it has something to do with the way it's shot. It has something to do with the facial expressions these creatures are making. They looked dumb. It looked silly. I found it almost like a parody at the beginning. And I'm pretty sure those weren't the emotions that were supposed to be elicited from me. As for the production, outside of the jarring editing, we also have a movie that's shot, I believe, on souped up iPhone 15s. And it actually almost seems disingenuous to say souped up, more like souped down, because they had to really de-quality this movie. I don't think that's a word, but I'm using it. So many of the shots are intentionally out of focus, I was starting to get frustrated because we had some wonderful looking vistas on display, but it was always 10 to 20% out of focus as like a fuck you to the audience. We're trying to match the gritty, raw look of the past movies, but why? You don't need to. It doesn't even really make sense because now we're living in a 4K world. And it's even established in this setting that the rest of the world outside of whatever's happening in this area, they're doing fine. They're doing just fine. They got internet. Amazon's delivering packages. They just left these people for dead. One area I mostly enjoyed was the score. When it was just kind of its ominous background music and just hits into the Hans Zimmer-esque types of sounds. That was sweet. Those were really powerful, really draws you in. Finally, we have the sound design. Every animal in this movie has the weight of an elephant. There were rats at one point that scamper out of a hole and it's like a stampede's in the gorge. And Simba's down there. There were crows at one point that sounded like screeching banshees before we even saw them and just heard the noise, which sounded like I turned to my buddy Michael and I said, those are probably crows or something ridiculous. And they were crows. The crow turned to me slowly and went, "Ding! You got me. See you in 28 decades later, jackass." All right, let's get down to brass tacks. I wouldn't waste your money seeing this if you're not really a huge fan of this franchise to begin with. If this is your first watch of the 28 days, I would go back and watch the first one and save yourself some coin. If you love the movies, then you're going to go see it regardless of what I say. Who cares? I guess let this just be a warning that it might not live up to the expectations you have going in. Or maybe you'll like the subverting of expectations. You will enjoy the strange routes they go with the plot. But I did not. All right, so the film opens how most of my fever dreams do, with the Teletubbies playing on a TV set. There's a bunch of kids in the room. They're watching the weird-ass Teletubbies. Let this baby flippity boop pa 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 pa. When suddenly, ding dong, ding dong. An infected is ringing the doorbell, ready to come inside. This thing smashes through the door, starts eating a bunch of kids. Other ones are showing up. And I honestly got a little bit of a chuckle. I was restrained. I wasn't rude or anything. It was kind of just a like that. Because the first shot of one of the infected comes at the door and he's like, He just has this dumbass face, and they framed it so hilariously dumb. And then right away after that, there's another lady that runs at a glass door. She's like, I was kind of thinking that was funny, and then a third lady's on the ground, like spazzing out. This is not a normal reaction from me. I do not watch The Walking Dead or Dawn of the Dead or any sort of zombie film or an infection type movie and immaturely laugh to myself because it's silly nonsense. I really enjoy getting lost in the movie, in the storytelling, in the production, and all that stuff. But that was the honest to God's reaction I had upon seeing some of this stuff. And that stayed that way through almost the entirety of the film. There were parts that were intense for sure. My favorite easily being when this alpha dude sicks some of his dogs, aka infected, on our dad and son, Spike. Remember Spike? Spike's in the movie. We love Spike. Gotta love Spike. They run to a house, and that scene is intense as shit. They run, they turn. Go, 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 go. Hold. Craven time! But we get this opening act, focusing on this young blonde kid. His dad is a priest. He's psychotic. He welcomes the invasion. They start eating him alive, and the boy hides. Presumably, we will go back to his story momentarily. We don't go back to his story. Not until the final moments of the film, which are just an absolute peach, by the way, but I'm gonna save that for the end. Fast forward 28 years into the future. We meet our new protagonist, S to the P to the I to the K to the E. That's Spike, baby. Spike is in the house. They're living on this island that's self-sustained. They got food, they got shelter, they got camaraderie with their friends. The neighbors are great. They don't really have any reason to leave. So they're gonna leave to go on a hunting expedition. Just he and his son, Spike. Remember Spike? Expedition, short for expedition, of course. I should have clarified, I apologize. They go out across this watery bridge where Craven is gonna tell his kid for the upteenth time that remember, low tide, high tide, you can only cross at certain times. This is what we in the industry call exposition. You know what? I think that's factual information that I'm gonna wanna remember for later in the movie. Later in the movie, they have to run away from an alpha and get across that watery grave. The first half of this movie for me is sadly noticeably stronger, which is weird because there's really no plot at all. It's just the father taking his son out to go hunting, a rite of passage sort of thing, wants him to be an alpha male like himself, and like that big alpha undead thing over there, whatever, infected thing, I suppose. We can't say undead, we can't say zombie, that's not what they are. I understand. And I believe this is the first time we're introduced to several new types of these critters. The alphas are a larger version of the infected. They listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. They go to the Iron Temple 7 days a week. They're hitting the whey protein. They're roiding up. And they are in charge of some of the minions around. They can give them orders. It's basically How to Train Your Dragon at this point. Except for we don't have Hiccup. We have Spike. Dragons have spikes. Just a fun aside. Let's keep going. Jamie and his son go out for the hunt before the alpha shows up, and we see another new strain of infected, which are these bloater things, these fat, pulsating, disgusting things. They crawl on the ground. They eat worms. They're not the sharpest tools in the shed. They're not the fastest moving objects either. Spike does a piss poor job trying to kill one. A second one shows up, but they dispose of the bodies pretty quick. That's when the Alpha is gonna take charge. They take off like bats out of hell, make it to a house where they hold up for a while before this thing takes down. And then we have this fugly looking sequence at night as they try to run across the causeway back to their little island. This scene truly looks like shit as they're running under the stars. They kill the Alpha, they make it inside, and then they get to celebrate with some drinks, with some dancing, with some adultery. That's right, it turns out Aaron Taylor Johnson's character is a piece of shit, and he's making out with the town floozy. Actually, he's going all the way with her, while his beautiful, lovely wife is upstairs in their house, dying of something. Poor little Spike, he went down the wrong alley after his father and got to see him slipping his hee-haw into her hoo-hoo, and it just kind of turned him into a man overnight all over again. First the kill, then the penetration. It's been a night. Jamie finally heads back to the house, drunk and stupid, tries to lay down next to his wife. Spike's not having anything to do with that, though. He pulls out a knife on his dad. Get the fuck out of my house, Papa. You're not welcome here. Craven double taps the wall. Puts a couple dents in the plaster, which is just rude, by the way, and then he leaves. From the movie, we really only see him one more time, and that's when he realizes his son and his wife have fled the island. He sees they're gone, and he yells to the top of his lungs. You can probably guess what he's gonna say. Spike! Spikey! And now we are in Act 2 of the picture, which is the Spike and Mom road trip. The reason he has left with her is that he found out from a wise old man, who I think is his grandpa, I can't remember, that there is a doctor in town, might be a little kooky, might be a little out there, but who's not at this point, who could potentially save his mom. So obviously he's gonna take that chance. And they head out there. Jodie Comer's been aloof, kind of crazy, looking all over the place this whole film. She's really giving me Winona Ryder vibes in this movie. We finally get Ralph Fiennes in the film. He's painted himself like he's jumping into a round of Fall Guys, and he really, really respects the dead. I mean, this guy's got his own kiln, he's preserving the skulls of the fallen, and he's made himself quite a totem. This guy's one step away from going full-blown Marlon Brando Apocalypse Now, but he still has the wherewithal, righty then, to see what's wrong with our Jodie Comer. Oh shit, I'm ahead of the game here. I'm ahead of the film, and this is already running very long. Let me back up a little bit. When they get to the mainland, I forgot that they sleep in some stone archway where in the middle of the night, Spike's mom Isla chokes a bitch out, killing an infected right next to Spike, who doesn't wake up from any of this. Pretty remarkable that he doesn't wake up, but that's fine, it doesn't matter. They meet up with a Navy SEAL or whatever his profession is, I don't care. He's on the island, he could have been delivering furniture, but he chose to do this instead. The joke's on him. And he's gonna tag along with them for a little while. At least long enough for Isla to stumble into a train and help give birth to an infected baby. What? That's right, her motherly intuition kicked in full gear when she walked onto that train and saw an infected lady in the corner. And that turtle head's popping out. She goes over there, clasps her hands, and they deliver this sweet baby together. It's okay, shh, it's okay, shh. It's okay. The big twist reveal here is the baby is perfectly fine. Not infected at all, which could definitely lead us to a Last of Us situation where this baby could be the cure going forward. But we'll have to save that for the sequel. Another observation about this baby, absolutely chill as fuck. This is the calmest cucumber baby I've ever witnessed. There is screaming and violence and just loud noise that bothers a baby typically, but this kid is just collected. Good for the baby. Soldier kills the infected mom who tries to rip off Isla's face. And now Spike is not only saddled with babysitting his mother, but also his new sibling, kind of. Before they can leave the train, daddy's home. The alpha busts out, pulls the soldier up, kills him off camera, I think. Maybe he does the spine rip again. That happens like 3 or 4 times in this movie. And then he starts chasing after these folks. This is when Ralph Fiennes finally enters the picture, shoots a blow dart at the thing, which completely stops it dead in its tracks, calms him down. It's a muscle relaxer. Everybody should be doing these once a day. And Fiennes' character, Dr. Kelson, has this giant alpha right in his sights. They can kill him easily, but he decides, in his infinite wisdom, to just leave him. Oh, this deadly thing that's gonna hunt us until we give it the baby back, a la Jurassic Park 2, let's leave him alive for no reason at all, only to end up killing him 5 minutes down the road. Perfect. Perfect. Now that the action's all done, we enter melodrama territory, as the doctor has figured out what is causing all of Mom's problems. It's cancer. So that's not that exciting. She finds out she has cancer and within an hour has him take her out off camera, bringing back a polished skull for the son. Hey, Spiky, I have cancer. Here's your baby. I'm gonna go die without telling you. He's gonna bring back a skull though to add to the collection. Thanks, Mom? The fuck? But damn, Spike is emotionally and physically put together. He takes the skull and he climbs up to the top of Skull Island, plants that skull right at the tippy top, primally screams in my headcanon, but in the real movie, he just looks off to the sunset with Skull Mom. He tips his hat to the dock and makes his way back home, but then just ditches the baby at the front door like a high school teen on prom night and heads back inland, where we are gonna end this movie on the dumbest shit-ass cliffhanger ever conceived. Unless you watched the film Men, also written by Alex Garland, then you know that anything is possible here. Everything's on the table. Remember the Teletubbies I talked about at the beginning of the movie? Good, because they're back. There was also another thing I forgot to mention, which is that Spike has a Power Rangers action figure, but it's just one more piece to put into this puzzle. Because as he's cooking up a really nice catch of the day, a couple more infected zombies smell that fish and come running at him. He's now a perfect shot with the bow and arrow because he practiced for half a day, and he takes a couple out, but uh-oh, he's out of room and out of options. Good thing for him, the tracksuit Teletubby Power Rangers have entered the fray. Here comes a new challenger, and the leader of this motley crew, the blonde kid that survived from the way beginning. He's rocking a tracksuit and a tiara, because we're silly now. That's what we're doing with 28 years later. We're silly. Not only do these guys all have different tracksuits of colors matching the Teletubs and the Power Rangers, but they are also highly skilled in parkour, running up the sides of walls, using javelins at them. Woo! Yeah, baby! They are eating this up. Yum, 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 yum. And the film ends with Spike joining the crew. Are you ready for it? Boom, boom, boom. What in the hell was this? It should be noted that I get heated, I get loud, I get wild, possibly obnoxious, but that's how I do things here. I do movies. You can love this movie. It could be a 10 out of 10 for you. That's great, that's fine. I'm telling you why it's not for me. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. I would love to hear from you. Did you see this? Are you now scared out of your mind to go? Or maybe you're more excited than ever because we're getting something completely different this time around. Let me know, leave a comment. Again, think of subscribing to Adam Does Movies show on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. That way you get more of me in the future. I'd love to see you. All right, that's all I got. Take care.